Welcome back to episode 19 or 20, one of the two.
I'm pretty sure it's 19.
Probably 19, I think. But we might have done one without.
Oh, uploading it or?
No, not without upload. We just did 3 of them before the computer was ready. Is this the first one that we're doing when it's back, I think?
We should do the Joe Rogan thing and just label it when we upload it, but not in the video.
Cause yeah.
He hasn't cut it to like
yeah. Well, actually, how I labeled them in the video is I listened to the first 10 seconds and see what number we said. And one of them I mislabeled because we taught, But
I think it's easier to just like look at the previous one.
Yeah, I should do that. But drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Sober October is over.
Everything is a drug.
Everything is a drug. The last time that we did this...
Other humans are made of chemicals too.
Yeah, you could consume them, and that's illegal. But...
No, it is. Sorry, you say.
Sober October is over. So we've been, or I guess you've been partaking in drugs regardless. And there are like a bunch of things regarding it that I wanted to discuss that I just saved for the podcast because this is always a good time to discuss it.
Because the main thing was that I had that music festival.
Yes.
Like the first week of October, and music festivals are kind of like you're supposed to go and do drugs. So
yeah, exactly. That
starting from there, I wasn't too committed to it. But.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Last we talked about drugs, I think it was the episode of the podcast where we just discussed what the effects of caffeine were. And I was saying that I wanted to address this because I was saying that caffeine didn't seem to have any effect at all. And I realized it does. Because when I was saying that, my computer was still broken. And I wasn't able to do the work that I would normally be doing. And I maybe didn't realize that when I am doing work, it does help a little bit to have some caffeine. Just maybe it's like a very minor Adderall or something where it just gives you a little bit more dopamine and you're more willing to go along with whatever work it is that you're doing, I think.
Yeah.
But you did Adderall and did not do any work.
I did. Yeah.
Why not?
So... Yeah, there's a question of why you do work. And it's like there's work that you want to do because you have an actual thing that you get out of it. Like a painter paints art because he enjoys painting the art and expressing himself. And then there's work that you do because you are like threatened by something. Like school or like a lack of money or like...
starvation.
Some obligation, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like something that you need. Like you need to live, so you need the money to feed yourself. So it's like, it's one of those things where you have to almost be like tricked into doing that sort of work. And tricked in the way of like, it's true that you need the money. So it's not like a incorrect trick. It's almost just like you have to be like attached to the idea of living and like being honorable or whatever. And doing what like things that you're expected to do.
Yeah.
And it's like those things are sort of fed by... like your dopamine, like reward versus punishment, like parts of your brain. So I think with the caffeine and the Adderall, it's like the more dopamine you get, the more like you stay indoctrinated into whatever the thing you're doing is. Where it's like if your schoolwork or like your school is telling you need to do this to be a good student and not fail your classes, and you like buy into it, then you get dopamine by doing the work, and you get like whatever, like cortisol or like fear
when you don't do
it. Yeah. And so the Adderall just gives you more dopamine, so you do it more or do it more effectively or whatever. But I think the issue is that if you're out of it and you're not like committed to like...
If you're out of what?
Like if you're not like if you stop caring about the grades or like the commitment to something.
So if there's zero dopamine in it for you.
Yeah. Or less of like zero dopamine, more just like you're aware that you're trying like the schoolwork is trying to trick you into getting dopamine.
Yes.
It's like you realize that the dopamine that you're getting from that means nothing. And so like it's not that you don't get dopamine from doing something, you get dopamine from the anticipation of doing something. Like when they train animals, they found that the dopamine, like the release of dopamine happens before the actual reward. Like with the ringing the bell or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like you ring a bell and the dog gets food or whatever. You ring the bell and the dog gets dopamine before it gets the food.
Oh.
So it's like you sort of anticipate things leading up to something happening and then get dopamine that in some cases causes you to actually do the thing that you want.
Yeah. Well, isn't the bell
Mm.
kind of like that's almost the work because they know the food, like there's nothing they have to do after that. That's the work being done and the food is on its way after that.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. Like,
Because I
yeah.
always assumed that when you were doing work and getting dopamine, you didn't have the dopamine necessarily while you were doing the work, but maybe there was some because you knew you were doing something that would eventually get you dopamine.
Yeah.
And so you're getting some from doing that, but then the real dopamine payoff is when you finished it. And then you feel really good about, it's done, it's nice, and I finished building this house or whatever it is.
Yeah, no, I think that's part of it. But I think it's like you keep doing the work because you're looking at the reward you're about to get. Because I think that the comfort and like the happiness you get at the end, like maybe it's still dopamine, but it's a different type of like, it's a different feeling than the motivation.
Yeah.
That's why I don't love the idea like saying like dopamine versus this or that.
Yeah.
Is that like the motivating feeling is something you get in anticipation of the reward, because that's what causes you to actually like do the thing that will give you the reward.
I see. So with your specific situation,
Right.
you weren't motivated at all to do the work.
Yeah, it's almost like in the past, like I've always procrastinated a lot, and like my way of motivating myself is like to sort of like get into the right mindset and be like, all right, I'm in the right mindset, time to actually do the work type of thing. But the issue is that now that I see
What kind of mindset?
not like hyped up, but like sort of just like calm or like focused.
It's
hard to describe.
It sounds ridiculous to be hyped up to do homework.
No,
but
that's it's not the right like.
Yeah.
That's maybe like the closest thing, but like that makes it sound ridiculous because I'm very bad on hyped. But.
Yeah. Just getting really hyped to do the homework.
Yeah. But it's some sort of like focus, but
the motivated a little bit. Almost.
Yeah. It's like a motivated focus of like, all right, it's time to work type of thing.
Yeah.
But the issue now is that I realize that I get nothing out of it, and it's like there is like the lack of the punishment of like I'm not going to fail this class and I'm not going to waste money or whatever. But it's like I don't care that much about that. Like if it ended up happening, I would then care. Like a few weeks later when I realized I failed, and then I'm like, oh yeah, that sucks. But right now it just feels like almost just like not like a real thing. It's just like, yeah, I guess that would happen.
If you didn't do the assignment, is it so big of a grade that you would fail, or?
Yeah, I don't know how that works. I feel like college classes, if you don't do like, it's like the main project of the class.
Oh.
I feel like if you don't do it, it's not so much you like fail on the spot, but it's like the professor would be like, Louis, why didn't you do this? You need to do this or you'll fail.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah. No, that makes sense. So
I've never had that happen, but yeah.
I guess in grad school, do they not break down the grades with a rubric and tell you like 10% is the project?
They do. I don't know I don't know the percentage.
You don't look. See, I would always look.
Yeah.
And if I ever happen to be high enough on the scale and have done enough and earned enough points
you just give up.
that I didn't have to do the final project, it's not that I literally wouldn't do it at all, but I would just have no worries about it. It would be so easy to work on because I wouldn't be trying to make it any good. I would just, if it was a 10-page paper, just type up 10 pages of nonsense. And the crazy thing about it is the professors would still give you a pretty good grade on that because they don't actually know what you're capable of.
Yeah.
And they just see a paper, and I almost feel like when you're just reading a paper, like 30 papers are getting turned in and they all kind of meld together, and you don't actually know what's good and what's bad. And
also, people probably do worse jobs on it than you think.
Yeah, people probably do pretty badly on those papers, pretty poorly. And I have done very poorly on some of those papers and still gotten a decent grade just because it is a daunting task to be the professor and to try to analyze what papers deserve a 60 versus what deserve an 80.
Yeah.
Because there's almost no real way to tell. I mean, unless there's obvious grammar mistakes.
Yeah, if they have like a micro rubric.
Yeah.
They could do some of that, but
yeah, they could, but then it's just so much attention that has to be paid. And if I think about when I'm reading even a book that I enjoy, there are times that I find, I wasn't paying attention to the last page that I read. And that would definitely be happening to me if I was reading the same paper written 30 times.
Yeah, especially if it's just like a single book report or like a prompt or something.
Yeah, like the professors want to skim over these papers and make sure nothing's obviously cheating and then just give you a passing grade. And, not be too strict with it.
That is kind of how it works.
Yeah.
But back to the Adderall thing, it's like this isn't necessarily the best explanation, I guess, but it is one of those things where it's, if you break the chain of like the anticipation, preparation, reward type of thing,
Mm-hmm.
it's like if that stops working as well, then like even the motivation from the Adderall or the caffeine doesn't it would like speed up the process or make it like more effective. But if the underlying process isn't really there anymore, like I've kind of like lost interest in school, or like doing well in school or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like if the underlying process isn't really there anymore, making it better isn't going to do anything. So what I ended up doing is basically the same thing I would do regardless.
Yeah. No, that
I'm just like
makes sense.
writing or like thinking about stuff or like
Yeah.
living life.
Yes, and just enjoying
Yeah.
that more.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. See, for me...
I enjoyed it less because I was procrastinating and like had the lingering thought in my mind of like, I
yes.
should be doing work.
Yes, that is the worst. When oh yeah, that's like that is something that never seems to go away until you have enough money that you don't have to do anything else.
Oh yeah, I guess.
Because
the
normally,
start of that was like, oh no.
no, because there's always, if you don't have enough to just live the rest of your life and do whatever you want, if there's ever going to be a point where you're going to have to get food in the future, and you're not going to just be able to afford enough food for the rest of your life, then you're always kind of procrastinating because there's always going to be work in the future that you have to do that you could potentially be doing today and saving up. Being able to save money has almost ruined that, because hunter-gatherers, they would have no need to get more food if they did a big kill and got a big deer, and that was going to rot in a few days, and it was more than they could possibly eat.
Yeah.
And then they would truly have time to just relax because there's nothing else they could possibly do that would benefit them.
Right. Yeah, like having to store for the future makes you think about the future more.
Yeah, makes it so that there are things you could be taking care of today, and not that you're assigned to do it today, but that you could be.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think the thing about procrastinating isn't like there's procrastinating where you like theoretically could be doing work. But I feel like what I think of as procrastinating is like knowing that you need to do work and then like intentionally avoiding it.
Yes.
And like it's sort of in a way of like it's supposed to, like work that you're expected to be doing now. Where it's like, sure, we could work nonstop, like 80 hours a week to get all the money we could possibly. And we're kind of like procrastinating by waiting to do that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like we're not like constantly thinking, oh man, I'm only working 40 hours a week. I really should be doing more.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that's what I would consider procrastinating.
No, yeah, there is a limit to it. I think that I at one point didn't have as much of a limit, and I was more focused on doing the work and just getting it all out of the way. But then I realized there needs to be some time for enjoyment as well. And so I kind of do it so that once I've gone to the gym, I do that at the end of the workday, and after that, there's not like I don't consider there to be any more work to do. I consider myself to be tired and have completed my day, and nothing I do after that that's for enjoyment is procrastinating, because there's nothing I'm supposed to be doing. There's no work that I should be getting done. But if it's just during the day, like today, and I was just writing a script, say I went downstairs and started watching a movie instead, I would consider that procrastinating.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. That's where I draw the line.
Yeah.
I had to artificially make a limit of around 4 to 5 or 6. I leave for the gym, and that's when the work is done.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like that's a good way to do it. Because like that avoids the. Because procrastinating is just kind of like an unhappy, unproductive thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like you're not getting anything out of it, and you're also not. Like you don't get anything. You're just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've noticed that if I am procrastinating during the day, then I will recognize that I'm procrastinating and decide, all right, for the next 30 minutes, this isn't procrastination. I'm just taking a break, and I can actually enjoy what I'm doing, and then I'll get back to it. And I think that's a good way to do it too.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because otherwise, in the past, when I just had homework and stuff that I would be avoiding, it would be like a kind of worried procrastination of, the homework, and I have to do it soon, and just one more YouTube video before I start that homework.
That's how it goes.
Yeah, that is how it goes.
Yeah, but I think the real key is to like not even worry about whether you procrastinate or not, and to like think about like if you want to be doing the work that you're doing. Because I feel like the procrastination doesn't happen unless like the work you're doing is something that you don't really want.
Yeah.
But like I think I said this at one point that like there's no. I feel like laziness is just kind of something made up by people who want other people to do things that they don't want to do. That's a very confusing word.
No, that sounded good.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, like laziness is only it exists in reference to something that the lazy person doesn't want to actually do. Because no one's actually lazy about the things they want to do. Like if what you want to do is watch TVs and eat Cheetos, you're not lazy. You're just doing what you want.
Yeah.
And it's like lazy people are only exist in the minds of people who want the lazy people to do something different.
Yeah. I think that you could look at laziness as it's a more extreme example, but typically it doesn't get to this point. But it's people who don't want to do the work that's necessary to survive, almost. And in the past, there probably weren't very many lazy people because if there were, they died very quickly. But in today's society, you can there's enough spare resources that you can kind of leech off of your friends and family and just kind of float by and get government aid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Question is it the lazy people leeching off everyone else? Or is it that the lazy people don't mind just wasting away and dying, and the people who think they're being leeched off of are really like subjecting themselves to like giving charity when the people aren't really asking for it, they're just being lazy.
Yeah, I think sometimes the lazy people would ask. If they got hungry, they'd be like, "So, what's for dinner, Mom?"
Yeah.
You know?
Then they're being kind of like evil and
like
parasitic. But I think the real like honorable lazy person is just like sitting there not caring if they starve to death because they're not working. You know?
Yeah, I don't think that's the case for most people.
What you were saying initially is that people that don't really want to survive, that's what they would be doing.
Yeah.
Because people who are begging for food, they want to survive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. It's like the laziness isn't literally people not being willing to survive. It's them not being willing to do the things that if no one did them, they wouldn't survive, right?
So the things that you think they should do. Other people
the things that you could in a sense objectively look at and say if no one got any food, no one would survive.
Right.
And so they kind of want to do the watching TV part and not contribute to the food creation.
Right.
And that is, in a sense, lazy from the perspective of work being food creation.
Right. Assuming
we need food.
that, the feeding of humanity is the right thing to do, like objectively. But the thing is, there's no real like objective, like right way for things to go, because maybe humanity dying out is the right thing, or maybe like less food being produced would suddenly discover that we don't need as much food as we thought, or something.
Yeah, no, that is true.
Like, there's very
you have to
unless you're like a god, like unless you know more than all the humans. It's hard to like say something objective about humanity.
Yeah, it's not literally objective, but you have to overlay the assumption that people need food to survive and that that's work that we should be doing. Assuming that, which
you can believe
is
that.
a fairly likely assumption in my opinion.
Likely.
It seems fairly likely that we should be doing that, or that I want to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Likely in reference to like that is
likely in reference
that is a
to
truth, or that it's a
what's the other option?
Like likely that it's like an objective truth that if some god came down here and was like, yeah, that's the right thing to be doing, or is it likely that, or do you think that other people should think that it's important?
Yeah.
You know?
I think likely that if we were to discover what we should be doing, like if a god came down and told us what we should be doing, that would be a prerequisite almost to do that thing, unless we could do it while we were dead.
Yeah, what if the solution was to fast?
Yeah, it could be that. That seems like a very specific thing. Like it seems like death is more finite than everything we could do while we were alive. It seems that way.
Sure.
Haven't been dead yet, but it seems that way from my perspective. So with all of the information that I have, it seems like the likely thing to do is get food.
Yeah.
But it's obviously impossible to say for sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
But the thing is like the lazy people who are stealing food from other people, or getting food given to them, even though they aren't making it, like they're not, like they're getting food.
They are getting food.
Yeah. And it's like the society as a whole is making less, but it's one of those things where it's like it's impossible to really know. And it's like just
to really know what?
Like to know what the right thing to be doing is.
Oh.
And it tends to be kind of like an argument over, like, these people think this and these people think this. And it's like, there's scientific reasons why one person seems right or the other person seems wrong, but it's like, there's no real, like, truth behind it.
Yeah, we don't know
Yeah.
what the science we're looking at is. It's like looking
Yeah.
at a water droplet in the ocean. We know what that droplet's made out of, but we don't know where it is or what it's connected to.
Yeah. Or, yeah, it's like, or like, we can know everything about the water droplet, but, like, the science, like, the scientific reason to make more food or, like, to do this for society, like, the science is really good at describing things, but it doesn't say anything about, like, the purpose of it or, like, whether it's actually important or not.
Yeah.
Like, that water droplet could be the most important water droplet in the world, or it could be nothing.
Yeah.
And the science is just going to tell you, like, the molecules that are in it.
Yeah. I guess what you were saying earlier about the lazy person wanting to just watch TV and eat cheese puffs. If they want to eat
I said
cheese
Cheetos.
puffs.
I said
Or
Cheetos.
did you say Cheetos? Yeah, okay. If they want to eat Cheetos, then they obviously want, like, something that they're not willing to make, right? Yeah.
We've been listening to different lazy propaganda.
Yeah.
I'm saying Cheetos, you're saying
Cheese puffs, yeah. Yeah, I don't know where cheese puffs came from, but
I know.
yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
but sorry, what are you saying?
It was that if the lazy people want that thing, it's the way I look at laziness is they're not willing to do the things to get what they want, and so they're more willing to settle almost for not having what they want. But if they could just stretch out their hand, they would. They're just not willing to put in as much effort to get the things as a person who's less lazy.
Yeah.
Like they want the same things, maybe they want them less.
Right.
Or the barrier to actually getting them is higher.
or yeah, like for whatever reason they're not doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like in their mind they're thinking, I want to be a millionaire, but they're too lazy
Yeah.
to actually do it.
Yeah.
But it's almost the same thing where it's like, instead of other people telling them they're lazy, they would be telling themselves that they're lazy. So it's like they have an idea in their head where it's like this part of their brain is thinking, I want to be a millionaire. And then this part of their brain is thinking, I just want to watch TV and eat Cheetos or cheese puffs.
Yeah.
But it ends up being the same thing of like, instead of society telling them they're lazy, they're telling themselves that they're lazy. And at the end of the day, the part of their brain that wants to be a millionaire is like, maybe they're right that that's a good thing to do, and it's just ineffective. And the part of their brain that wants to eat Cheetos isn't lazy, it's just doing what it wants.
The real question is, if we gave them Adderall, then would they have enough dopamine to be doing the work? Would they choose to do the work if they had Adderall? Because I think a lot of people might. I think that what they want is dopamine.
Yeah,
and
but-
that's how they get it. They get it from the TV and Cheetos.
Right. But are you saying like it's better to like drug the population and have them work more?
I'm not saying it's better. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, what do they actually want?
Yeah. Sorry. Are you saying like, or yeah, I'm jumping the gun.
Yeah.
Are you saying that people want like it's almost like the Adderall is like a way to make the tricks, or like the imposition of what someone else wants you to do, or like it's almost a way to make you more commanded or more commanding. Is that like it's like whatever, like the hierarchy of like someone tells you to do something or you tell yourself to do something.
Yeah.
Whatever you call that, like the commanding hierarchy. It's almost like the Adderall makes that stronger and more effective.
Yeah.
So it's like, is that what people want? Do people want to command themselves more effectively?
Yeah, I view it more so as it just lowers the barrier to entry to do anything, because everything is more enjoyable, because basically it's just shooting dopamine into your brain. And what people want when they do the TV and they eat the Cheetos is those are instant sources of dopamine, because the Cheetos taste good and the TV looks really cool. And doing the work that people might not find as interesting, which over the long run can give you some dopamine when you harvest a crop, or just like watching it grow slowly, you're not getting that dopamine while you're putting the seed in the ground and watering it every day.
Yeah.
But if you just have a constant source of dopamine in your brain, then you're able to do the things that you could logically look at and say, I want this and this more than I want nothing.
Right.
And you can then do those because you have dopamine in your brain keeping you content while you do those things.
Right. The issue is, I know the slippery slope argument is bad,
Yeah.
but I just keep thinking
I like the slippery slope argument.
Yeah. Oh, wait, I know it's a conservative fallacy, but if you think of the slippery slope here, it's like, the end state of this is that it's much better to have slaves that are given dopamine pills, and then they'll work as hard as they can, and never do what they actually want, because they're so effective at being controlled by other people.
Why is that the argument of this?
Sorry, I'm jumping again.
How did we get there?
I'm not even like in terms of, like, if you have all the dopamine you need, you'll do whatever work it is that you want.
Yeah.
Or that like you can tell yourself you want, or someone else can tell you want.
Yeah.
So it's like it makes you a really good worker, but it doesn't really give you like it puts you like it makes you better at whatever type of like dopamine work there is.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, is that really like a fulfilling thing? Is that really what you want? Like the extreme of, you know? Like think of a better example is like comparing like the dopamine society of like everyone gets as much dopamine as they can by working all day or whatever.
Yeah.
And doing like menial tasks or whatever that are super enjoyable when you're on Adderall.
Mm-hmm.
Or you have like an art society where like everyone tries to make as much art as they possibly can.
Yeah.
Because they get so much fulfillment from like making beautiful things or whatever.
Yeah.
It's like in that world, that like that's an extreme thing where it's like no one's making any food and they're gonna die out because they're only making art.
Yeah.
But it's like I'd much rather have that society than like a computer or like a society full of like humans, like computers that just get dopamine, you know?
Yeah. But I feel like that kind of society is a lot more viable with the Adderall because people would have less of a barrier to entry to making the art. I mean, while you're making art, at least me personally, it's not like if I did really enjoy making art while I was making it, then I'd be making art all the time. I think that's kind of like an idealized thing where the difference between those societies is in that one people want to make art as like their primary thing, and in the other one, did you say people were slaves?
Or like everyone's has a constant source of dopamine.
Yeah.
Which I feel like would lead to like a very well-formed hierarchy where the people below, like there's people and people below them work, and the people below them work hard. And it's like...
I almost feel like it would be more egalitarian in the sense that maybe what makes people today have the hierarchy is some people naturally have chemical differences in their brain and are more able to push themselves to do the work they know is important. Like the poor people, they know it's important.
And it's their fault.
to do really good work. But it's not their fault. It's like they were born into unfortunate circumstances, both in terms of where they started out economically and socially and all that, but also potentially in terms of what their brain is capable of producing chemical-wise naturally. They might not gain as much enjoyment from doing, or just might not have as much dopamine naturally as someone who's more able to do something that's going to benefit them over the long run, that doesn't just give them dopamine every second like TikTok would.
Right.
And the poor people end up getting sucked into, I need dopamine, and they watch TikTok, and the more motivated person says, I'm Elon Musk, I'm not going to get any dopamine until I'm on Mars, but I'm still going to do work for 10 decades.
Yeah.
And if everyone had dopamine plentifully, they'd be more likely to do what they think is actually important to be doing instead of just what's dopamine infusing.
Yeah, okay. I think I agree with you, but the big issue is now that we're still using the word dopamine.
Yeah.
That's why it stops making sense.
Yeah.
Because it makes sense to say, like, if people had more motivation or more drive or whatever, then the poor people would all be rich and we'd be living on Mars.
Yeah.
The issue is if you say dopamine, I'm just thinking, like, if you just shove as much dopamine as you can into the chemicals in their brain, then, like, that doesn't really solve anything. It just makes them...
Yeah, you would want to shove as much as you could.
Actually, no. The way I'm putting it is, like, it's like no matter what you do, you're going to form some sort of hierarchy of, like if everyone had, like, 10% more dopamine, or, like, 10 times more dopamine, you'd form this, like, simple hierarchy where it's, like, whoever has the most dopamine, or whoever is the best at using their dopamine, gets ahead and becomes the next Elon Musk. And people who are a little bit worse become the poor people now.
Yeah.
Even if those poor people are richer than the poor people before.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if you keep it that simple with just dopamine, it becomes more like a degenerate, like, simple society where all you're doing is getting dopamine.
Yeah.
But if you make it more complex and have, like, motivation in a more, like, vague term, you'd have it be, like, more nuanced and have, like, some of the people are motivated by science and some are motivated by technology and some are motivated by art or whatever.
Yeah.